Hola a todos y bienvenidos a la clase de español. Primero vamos a hablar del alfabeto. So the alphabet, el alfabeto, is the baseline of all language, and that's why I like to start here. So remember that you can start off any journey with any language, starting with that alphabet. Personally, I've never learned a language that doesn't have a alphabet that's very similar to the English language or to the Spanish language. However, I like to think that possibly it'd work. Maybe I should try it out. We'll see. But definitely for a lot of your more Latin-based or uh, Germanic-based languages, this is going to be a good place to start. So, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué empezamos aquí? Well, for starters, like I said, it's the very baseline, it's the starting point. So every book is made up of paragraphs, is made up of sentences, and then of words, and the words are made up of the alphabet. They're made up of letters or letras. So it helps us to write and spell. Knowing the alphabet, now I'll grant you that in English, maybe not so much because English is mean. But at least in Spanish, it really helps us to spell because we can hear the letters that are being said and we know exactly how to spell it because of those sounds that we are hearing. And it helps us to write in the same way. And when we hear those sounds, we know how to write that word. And it helps us to pronounce. Again, a little bit different with English, but in Spanish especially, las vocales, the vowels, they're going to stay the same. And we're going to talk more about that later on in this video, but it helps us understand how to pronounce what we are going through, what we are reading aloud. And the more you listen to things, the better off you're going to be as far as making those connections with pronunciation. Vale, if you have those notes or you have not gotten your notes out already, I want you to go ahead and get those out. Remember, you can print them and write on them with a pen. You can use a PDF editor to write on them, or oftentimes you can convert them into a Word file so that you can type on them as well. But the important thing is that you get those notes out so that you can follow along because I want you to escucha. I'm going to say all of the letters of the alphabet. And in this time frame, I want you to write down what you think that letter sounds like. I did the first one for you. It is ah. So I wrote A-W-E. If you see that as A-H-H-H-H, go ahead and cross out A-W-E. Put your own version of that in there because what I want you to be able to do is look at these notes and know exactly how to say each letter based on how you spelled it out. All right, so you're spelling out that sound that you hear with each of these letters. I'm going to go through these fairly slowly at some points because I'm going to also give you some information additionally with each, well, not each letter, with several of the letters. So we have our A, be, say. So quick note on say here. In Latin American countries, this letter is sounded like an S. But this letter, say, and the letter for Z, they have what is known as the ceseo in Spain. That means there's a lisp there. So this is the la letra C. So if you ever hear me speak very quickly, I tend to use a Spanish accent and I use the C, the ceseo. That just means you have a lisp with the letters C and Z. La letra C, and we'll get to that letter Z a little bit later on. La letra Che. This is a special, it's one of several that we're going to see here that used to be in the Spanish alphabet, but is no longer officially part of the Spanish alphabet. All right, this is one that they have taken out of the official alphabet, but I want to go ahead and add it here along with a couple of others that have been taken out just because it's something you might see from past alphabet versions, but also you will see it in words. And I know a lot of the times when I saw a CH, I had thought that might be a K sound, but it is a ch sound, che. Day. A. Take special note here. This is la letra A. The one that we have up top here, remember, that is la letra A. This is A. Okay? And we're going to get to this in a little bit later, but los vocales, they sound the same. I think I already said that once in this video, but this A is going to sound like A every single time. F, G, H, E. This is another one. We have la letra E. It's the letter I, but it sounds like E. J, Ha. What's special about this word is that, or this letter, is that it's honestly not used a lot in the Spanish language. It's used in words like koala or words that have been adopted into the Spanish language from other places, but it's not a common letter to the Spanish language itself, which means that you will not often see it used, but it's still part of the official Spanish alphabet. La letra K. L, ella. This is another one that has been taken out of the official Spanish alphabet, but used to be a part of it. This one I think is extremely important to have in the Spanish alphabet because when you have two L's together, it makes a totally different sound from a single L. A single L is the LA, makes the ol sound, whereas the double L is the aya, it makes a y sound, y. So you will see this in phrases like me llamo. I call myself, me llamo. That double L is going to make the y sound, not the ol sound. Eme, ene, enye. So again, with this one has been taken out as well from the official alphabet. I forgot to put a little star next to it. But it's another one I think is important to have in in our discussion here because once again it has a different sound from the ene. It's enye. It makes a nya, nya, año. Is one time you'll see is año. It's like there's an N and Y next to each other. La letra O. This one's going to be often confused with the U. I have found they're very similar, so a lot of people can mix them up, but this is the O sound. O. If you can repeat after me, repetir después de mí, O. It's a very open O sound. Hey. Who. Ere. This is almost like a soft D. So we're not making the sound that you would make in English. This is a very ere, a very soft D sound. So if we have it in words like pero, there's an R in there, but it sounds almost like a D if you listen to that. Pero. R. This is another one. Like I said, this is just like the LL next to each other. This is a letter that's been taken out of the official alphabet, but I have gone ahead and incorporated it here because this is the time you roll your R, or if the word starts with an R. So if a word starts with an R, or you see this double R inside of a word, that's when you're going to roll your R. You do not roll every single R in the Spanish language. So for example, like I just said, pero, that's the conjunction but, P-E-R-O, but the word for dog is perro, perro. So that's going to be a rolling of the R versus the pero, very soft D sound, or the singular R. So they're very different, even though there's only one R additionally. We have ese at the top, te, ooh. So remember, I said these can get confused sometimes. We have o, ooh. I want you guys to repeat after me. Repetir después de mí. O, ooh, o, ooh. A lot of times people can get them confused in their brain, but don't let them get confused. They are very different sounds. Be. This, however, is not a different sound. This letter right here, be, the exact same as this. Be, be, be. This is one of the most common misspellings in the Spanish language, especially among natives, is to put a V where there should be a B or a B where there should be a V. Just like in English, I don't know about you, I'm not a great speller in the first place, and then English is extremely difficult to spell in because of all of the fun little language rules that we don't follow, but we have. So with this, you can have this one switch occasionally where you have a B and a V that has been switched. That's the most common one. Other ones would include a C and an S, for example. Doble U or doble B, doble U or doble B. This is just like the K, la letra K, is not often used. It can be used in things like waffles, words that have been adopted, but it's not often. It is, however, in the official Spanish alphabet. X. This just makes a X sound. X. Y. It makes the same sound as the I. E. But it's la letra Y. Y. And zeta. So if you remember correctly, we had the theo with the se or the in Spain. This is zeta or theta. All right. So what I'm going to do now is we've gone through all those alphabet letters. You've written out what the letter itself sounds like. Hopefully, if you have not, I encourage you to rewind. Watch things again, make sure that you have them written down. Now what I'm going to do is read through them with the sounds that they make. Instead of the letter name, I'm going to make the sound, and I want you to write that next to it. If it's different from the way the letter is written, for example, we have the Y, you don't say Y every time you see a Y. It makes a certain sound. I'm going to read those sounds off, and I want you to write next to each one what that sound is. If it's different. It's not going to be really different with the vocales, the vowels, but it's going to be different with several of the other ones. All right. I would also like you to repeat after me if you can, just because it's going to help you really get into that mode of being able to say all these letters, especially if you can say them individually, it's going to be easier to say them all together in the form of words. Vamos a empezar. A, B, S, or you can also have a hard sound here. P, ch, d, a, or g. This is also a hard sound, so C and G, we're going to have the hard sounds there, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. This letter right here, la letra H, is silent. You're not going to say anything for, if you see an H ever written in Spanish, you're not going to make any sound. It is silent. E, O, Y, M, N, Ñ, O, H, K, D, R, S, T, U, B, W, S, E, S, or th. All right, I know that sounded really odd, but if you are stumped on any of those sounds individually, make sure to go back, listen to them, practice saying them. I would say probably the hardest one to practice is really this R. So anytime you can just find some words, look up some words with an R in the middle of them and replace it with almost a soft D. So not really a D sound, but kind of a really soft, light D that's kind of rolled into an R. All right, vamos a mover a ese. This is our last section. This is los cambios. So if you remember already, I talked briefly about the k and g and the s and h with the g and c. We're going to get into that, but we have cambios for a reason. In Spanish, the first thing to acknowledge here is that our vocales, like I've already said, las vocales, the vowels, they're going to sound the same every single time with one exception, and that is U. So part of our discussion on cambios is about this letra U because it is going to be silent in certain cases. When we see diphthongos, I want you to remember that if you read them quickly, they sound one way, but ultimately they're still sounding the same as far as vocales, all right? So we have a, u, au, au, au. So if you hear it quickly or you see it in a word, it's going to be said ow, ow. But if you slow it down, we still have those separate letters. A, u, au, 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 au. All right? Same with this one. A, I, And then we have A and E. I. All right. So really quickly, they sound a little bit different. It sounds like you are changing las vocales, but you're not. You're not going to change las vocales. They sound the same every single time, with exception of U, la letra U, which can be silent at sometimes. All right, so the G and the C, like I said earlier, can be either hard, duro, or soft, suave. Hard, duro, or soft, suave. It depends on what vowel it is next to. So what I mean by that is if I bring up here our little, what's this, a box. And I put a G next to each of our vocales. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. If I put a G next to an A, it makes the hard sound, duro, duro. All right, ga, it makes the g sound, ga. Next to an E or an I, it makes the h sound. That's the soft, the suave sound. He, he. So we have ga, he, he. These two are going to be duro. Go, gu. A, E, I, O, U. Ha, or ga, he, he, go, gu. This is where the cambios come in, all right? In Spanish, we want to maintain sounds, especially when you get into verb conjugation. And at times, you're going to have an ending on the end that you want to sound the same. You want to keep the same sounds. And that is why we have Spanish changes, those cambios in the spelling. All right, so let's say I have a ga and I want it to sound like ha. What I'm going to do is replace my G with the other letter in the alphabet that makes that h sound, a J. So instead of having GA, I'll have JA, and that will make ha. That's the jota and a, ha. So I want to change it from the duro sound to the suave sound. Duro to suave, ga, ha. Down here, we do the same thing with go and gu, from go to ho, from gu to hu. All right, so now if I want to read these through and make it all suave sounds, I have ha, he, ho, hu. So let's swap it around. Instead of doing the suave sound, we're going to do the duro sound now. So we're going to take the he and make it gay by adding a u. All right, this is where the U's come in being silent. So the U, when it's between a G and an E or a G and an I, is going to be silent. All it does is makes this soft G a hard G. All right, he, ge, he, gi. All right, the U is silent, is just going to make the G a hard G sound. Now, if you put a U between the G and the A, this G is already hard. That means the U is not silent here. If you have G-U-A, it's gua, gua, because you have the U-ah. If it's between the U or the G and the O, again, this is a hard G sound already, so you're not going to make it silent in this case. That would be guo. It's only silent between the G and the E and the G and the I in this case because you're wanting to take it from a soft G to a hard G. All right, so if I read this through so that everything is the hard G sound, we have ga, ge, gi, go, gu. Or we have ha, he, ho, hu. All right, let's take this same idea and we're going to apply it to C. So once again, we have a spelling change when it comes to C. And once again, it is C-E and C-I that we see be the soft sound. So the hard sound is a K and the soft sound is the S or th in Spain. All right, so we have ka, se, si, ko, ku. So it's still I-A-E-O-U. Ka, se, si, ko, ku. All right, and I want to swap things around. What is the other letter that we discussed? Can be a S or a Th, but a Z. So I'm going to take this Ka, and to make it Sa or Tha, I'm going to take the C out and replace it with the Z, just like we did with the G and the J. I'm taking out the hard C, I'm replacing it with a Z to make that soft sound. All right, I do the exact same thing down here with ko and ku. It's so and su. Sa, se, si, so, su. Or in Spain, sa, se, si, so, su. All right. And we're going to do the same idea that we had up here with adding a U, which becomes silent, to make the soft C's a hard C. All right, suave de duro here. Once again, when we add a U between a G and an E or a G and an I, or a Q and an E and a Q and an I, it's going to be a silent U. All right, there's no sound to it. That means when you see the word hey, Q-U-E, it's not que. It is not que, it's K. That U is silent between a Q and an E, even if it is its own word. Kien, K, all those question words, those are going to be that K sound. The U is silent in this case, and it's the same with Q-U-I, aki. That U is there because it's going to make this combination, the key sound, but the U is silent. It takes it from being say or the to k, and from c or c to ki. So if I read them in the hard sounds down, we have ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. Ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. Sa, se, si, so, su. Ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. Ha, he, hi, ho, hu. Ga, ge, gi, go, gu. That is just fun to do. I know it sounds like baby sounds, baby talk, but that's the point. It's very fun. All right, so you have some things to work on your editable notes, including some diphthongs and a few instructions to just practice this. And remember, the whole beauty of a video is you can rewind, you can pause, you can replay one part as many times as you would like to hear it over and over again. You can even slow it down or speed it up. So that in mind, remember to use your notes here in the video on your editable notes, and have a grand old time. Hasta la próxima.